You've heard of Roman victories. You've seen the glory, the power, the legions marching like thunder across the world. But what about the ones who didn't win? The ones who were captured, dragged from the battlefield, broken and forgotten? What really happened to them? The truth wasn't noble, wasn't heroic. It was brutal. And Rome never wanted you to know. Rome's culture of shame. In Roman eyes, capture was worse than death. To surrender, even under impossible odds, was shameful. If a soldier returned alive after being taken prisoner, he wasn't welcomed as a survivor. He was treated like a traitor. Some were exiled. Others were stripped of rank, denied honors, and branded cowards. Even those who endured unspeakable torment were discarded. Rome praised strength and erased weakness. Even if that weakness was forced on you by fate, the enemy decides your fate. Different enemies had different nightmares waiting. To the Gauls and Celts, Roman prisoners weren't men. They were trophies. Beheadings weren't executions. They were rituals. Heads were nailed to walls, used in sacrifices, displayed to terrify other enemies. Germanic tribes, like the ones deep in the Teutoburg forest, saw captives as offerings to their gods. Soldiers were stripped, mocked, then hung from trees or buried alive beneath sacred groves. But the Parthians, they played a different game. Rome's eastern rivals used prisoners as tools, paraded in chains, then scattered across the empire to serve as slaves, laborers, or worse. Some were forced to guard remote borders. Some, it's said, were marched all the way to China. The slaughter at Teutoburg in 9 AD. 3 Roman legions entered the dark forests of Germania. They never came back. What happened inside that forest still chills historians. Ambushed by tribes they underestimated, the Romans were overwhelmed. Their commander, Varus, fell on his sword. But his men weren't so lucky. Some were dragged into the woods alive, tortured, sacrificed, skinned. For Rome, it was a disaster. For the survivors, it was hell. The empire never fully recovered, and the names of the fallen, mostly erased. Carrhae and the vanishing 10,000. Now rewind to 53 BC. Rome's richest man, Crassus, marched into Parthia, hungry for glory. But he didn't find glory. He found a trap. Crushed by horse archers and desert tactics, over 10,000 Roman soldiers were captured. Then they vanished, gone. No letters, no graves, no return. Some historians believe they were marched east, far from Rome's reach, and ended up in Central Asia, or even China, as living border walls for new masters. Not soldiers anymore, just ghosts. Valerian's final humiliation. And then there was Valerian, an emperor, captured by the Persian king, Shapur I. It was the first time a Roman emperor had been taken alive, but it wouldn't end with mercy. Valerian was kept like a dog, used as a footstool for Shapur to mount his horse. When he died, some say his skin was peeled off, stuffed with straw, and displayed like a hunting prize. Rome never told that story in full. They couldn't. It shattered the illusion that Rome was invincible. The spiritual death. For Romans, death was more than physical. It was spiritual. A soul left unburied, lost to the wind, was doomed to wander forever. Captured soldiers feared this fate more than torture. Many abandoned their gods. Some turned to local faiths, praying to foreign spirits for protection, forgiveness, or revenge. Their old religion had no place for them. They were ghosts, long before they died. Rome's selective memory. Rome had a habit. It glorified triumphs and buried defeats. Captives weren't honored. They were omitted. No parades, no monuments, just silence. Even when survivors returned, they were shunned, pushed aside, left to fade into history's shadows. Why? Because Rome only celebrated what it could control. And these men proved it couldn't control everything. Modern echoes. We remember the victors, the emperors, the legions, the glory. But the story of Rome is incomplete without the broken, the captured, the discarded. Their silence, their suffering, still echoes. And maybe it asks a deeper question. Who do we choose to remember? And who do we erase? When their story makes us uncomfortable,